All right, people, Mr. Right here with lesson 18 for the trombone. Today we're going to be talking about sharps, flats, and natural signs. Put your eyes on the screen, please. This is a little sharp right here. It looks like a tic-tac-toe sign, and a flat looks like a little B, and then of course this is a natural sign. Looks like a chair with the back leg broken off. Well, a sharp like this, think about when you sit on something sharp, you go, wah, and you raise up a half step. That's what it does in music. When you hit a sharp, it's going to raise the note up a half step. When you have a flat, well, think about what happens in your car. You have a flat tire, your car goes down a half step. Now, a natural sign will cancel out this sharp or this flat. Also, bar lines in music will also do the same thing. They'll cancel out accidentals that are different than what the key signature says. But we'll get to key signatures later. So right here, you've got this F in first position, an E natural in second, and then we're going to give this E a flat, right? And it's going to lower it down a half step. See, here's an E in second position, showing about an inch of the slide, but an E flat, we're going to go down a half step. I'm going to play an E, then we're going to make it an E flat. Like here's an E, E flat. You see it went down a half step. And in third position, E flat, it's when this crossbar right here is like right before the bell. You can kind of put your finger like so to kind of find out where third position is, but you mainly want to use your ear. It goes down a whole step. So in number one, we're going F, E flat, E flat, E natural, F. We come right back up. So it's easy as 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 2, 1. So we do the same thing in this next measure right here. So let's try number 1. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now, this time in number 2, we're going to just put the same exercise, except there's not going to be any slide positions underneath. So if you need to study it up above in number 1, you want to do so now. But here's number 2. We're moving down in half steps from F in first to an E natural in second to an E flat in third, and then come back up. Let's try number 2. 1, 2, 3. Then in number 3, we're going to try it now in quarter notes, like F, E, E flat, E flat, E, F. See that E natural canceled out that flat right there. So that was E flat in third. That cancels out that to where it's a regular E. Another way of saying an E natural is it's just an E. So you could say it's an E or an E natural. Either way, it's the same thing. So, and then we just go up and down the scale here, and then we pop down in eighth notes over here. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And by the way, if this is an E flat, it'll carry over to this next E as well. These both will be E flats. All right. And so let's try number 3 now. Well, the rhythm, it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So let's try number 3. 1, 2, 3. Then number 4, This idea comes from Emory Remington, who's a trombone professor at the Eastman School of Music. And of course, he used whole notes to write this exercise. And the idea is that you use this exercise to tune each position as you're playing, to go down and really listen. You're measuring against your F in first position, down to the E, back to F, and so forth. So let's try this one now, except we're doing it now in half notes. 1, 2, number 4. Now, I threw something at you that I hadn't talked to you about. The D flat in fifth position. It's down in fifth position, and it's about 3 inches beyond fourth position. So, like that. So, and of course, you want to mainly use your ear to tune it up. So it's like you're tuning up each one of these positions, and you want to just really take time to listen to that pitch center. So that's a good exercise that's been used by band directors worldwide. And think of that D flat in fifth position as closer to sixth position than it is to fourth. It's further out there, right? So it's usually just in a little bit from sixth position. That's another way of thinking about it. So number 5, we're going to go back to the kind of idea we had before up here, except we're going to go all the way down and to that D, and we're going to play it in eighth notes. So you want to go da 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 da. So it's da 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 da, rest, da 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 da, rest, da 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 da, rest. And you're just practicing. You're moving the slide quickly, but you're letting the tongue pop those notes into place. So the tongue is super important. Listen to me do this. Like that. So let's try. And then, of course, in the second line, we basically just come back the other way. And excuse me. And you'll also notice that I wrote D sharp above this E flat. It's another way to spell the same note. It's the exact same note, third position. Like here's a D. To come up to change that D into a D sharp, it's just basically moving that slide in one half step from D to D sharp. Remember, when you sit on something sharp, you raise up a half step. Well, we raise up the slide a half step from, right? Theoretically, in music, you'll use flats going down, but you'll always use sharps going up. I should have written a sharp here for this D to a D sharp, but I wrote a E flat just to make it a little bit easier to understand and easier to read. It's just something I've always done, and a lot of other composers do that as well, just to make it easier for people to read notes that they're used to seeing. You don't normally see D sharps. You're normally used to seeing E flats when you're playing trombone music. So let's try number 5. Da 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 dum. So it'd be 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a. So let's try this one. Number 5. Da 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 da. That's still going to be fast. I'm bumping it down to 64. Let's get crazy here. So it'd be. Let's try that. See what that does. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a little more doable. That still may be too fast for if you've never done this before. You just probably want to practice it real slow and going. Just making sure each one of those notes is in tune. You just want to be very careful in coming back up. And you probably notice that when I'm moving the slide, I primarily hold the slide between these two middle fingers right here. I guess you can see that, all right? And then when I have to pop out real fast, I'll take my thumb and just move it out like that. But mainly it's just, I'm just kind of holding it just like that because it's the most relaxed. I can, it doesn't jar my shoulder, you know. But Emory Remington at Eastman School of Music, he would always say, just hold the slide with it down here, not up here. Don't hold it like this, like you're a gorilla or something. You're going to hold it by the thumb and first two fingers. That's the way he would prescribe to play it. But I've always just... it's just more relaxed that way to me. It's just more chill. Number 6, and this is going to speak about en-harmonics. En-harmonics is basically spelling the same note two different ways. These two notes are the exact same pitch. Notice they're both in third position, but this is an E flat. We're spelling it this way. It's the same note, third position, but that's also a D sharp. If you come up a half step from a D, it's called a D sharp, or down a half step from an E, it's called an E flat. So like E to E flat, or a D to a D sharp. So this is the same, an E flat and a D sharp, the same note. And so we're just moving around in half steps here, and the positions are marked to make it very clear and easy. And also when we get down to that D flat in fifth position, it's also called a C sharp because you're raising up a half step from sixth position, from, you know, so a D flat and a C sharp, it's the same note. And like I said, when you're descending in a scale in music theory, you're supposed to use flats. When you ascend, when you start moving up, you're supposed to use sharps. So let's try number 6 right here. 1, 2, 3. I would stop the video and I would practice that exercise because you got to get used to reading and recognizing E flats, D sharps, D flats, and C sharps because that takes some time to get used to. Just kind of look at the note, say, okay, I'm going to remember. See, you're the boss of your learning. You're going to have to take charge of saying, I'm going to remember that this is a D flat, it's also a C sharp. This is an E flat, it's also a D sharp. You won't have to remember that one as much. But that D flat and the C sharp, you'll see both of those quite a good bit. So, but you're going to have to make yourself learn it and to really concentrate on making sure you retain that information and kind of drill yourself on it. This is the way I would normally write things to help my kids out, but this is theoretically the correct way to do it. Notice these two, 7 and 8, are the exact same exercise, except right on the ascending part, I'm up here. This is the way I would write it to help my kids out, my band students, but this is the way that's correct. You actually have, when you do it this way, there's less accidentals cluttering up the page. But let's try number 7. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and number 8 is the same thing. Okay, number 8. 1, 2, 3. Then number 9, we're going down in half steps again, down to the D flat in 5th position, and then we pop that 6th position and come right back up to the E natural. Then we're just going back and forth, and then a different rhythm right here. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. So let's slow this one down for sure to give you time to process what's going on. I'm going to do 74 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and ready. Right, a lot going on there. You could slow that one down, and you just remember you're going down in half steps, coming up in half steps. I would slow it down and just play that slowly, like at the beginning. Just really making sure that note's in tune. Then number 10. Same thing, except we're moving in 16th notes. 1E and a 2 and 3E and a 4 and 1E and a 2 and 3E and a 4 and 1. Now, that's a natural sign. Also, whenever you come to a bar line, it acts like a force field that zaps away the effects of any accidentals you have. So once you cross that bar line, it's like zaps it away. Think of it's sort of like a little video game. Each little measure is like a room. And that when you leave this room and go to the next room, basically it zaps away all these little accidentals, flats and sharps and everything. 1 and 2 and re. Now that's hard to do on a trombone. I need to slow it down further than that. Because you need to really be able to process each one of those little spots and listen to it and play this slowly, like. To make sure each one of those little positions is in tune. I took a picture of my piano across the room, and I've labeled it so that you can get a better idea, a better visual of how these chromatic half steps work. On a piano, it's laid out in half steps, like the C to the C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and you wouldn't say E sharp because you've got an F that's a half step away. When you have two white keys right next to each other, that shows you that there's just a half step apart. Same thing over here from the B to the C. As I said in the earlier part of the video, when you're playing, when you're ascending or going up the scale, you'll use sharps, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B, C, B to the C. Then coming down, you're going to go C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat. So coming down, you're going to use flats. Going up, you're going to use sharps. So I wanted you to just have this so that you can see just how this worked. That this going up, this is a C sharp. If you're going down, that same note is a D flat. So I think this will give you maybe a clearer picture of how it looks on a piano and how to think of it in clearer terms as you're playing, because it's kind of abstract on the trombone, but if you can see it right in front of your face on a piano, it gets to be a little bit easier to understand. So hopefully that'll give you a better idea about sharps, flats, natural signs, chromatic half steps, en-harmonic spellings. It means the same note, it's just spelled two different ways. So hopefully that'll get you going on lesson 18 for trombone.